A very, very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for this special live event on the Master's Program in Public Policy from the National Law School of India University. My name is Bhavin, and it is up to me to introduce the agenda for today and our speakers for today. As those of you who are attending may already know, the university offers the master's program in public policy, which is a 2-year residential and interdisciplinary program that focuses on the interface between policy and the law. This program was introduced in 2014 and provides comprehensive training in designing public policies for complex societal problems, translating policies into deliverable programs, and in evaluating the efficacy of policies. Through the program, NLS trains young professionals to become policy practitioners capable of supporting inclusive and sustainable development. To talk to us about the program today, we have two people who are very, very deeply connected with the MPP program, Professor Sony and Dr. Aniket. I'll just introduce the two of them and then lay out the agenda for this session. Professor Sony Pellissery is Professor and Director at the Center for the Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy. He is a public policy specialist with special interest in distributive justice. After his doctoral studies from Oxford University, he was serving as an associate professor at the Institute of Rural Management in Anand, Gujarat, and he has won the India Social Science Research Award in 2009 and the Ram Reddy Memorial Award for Social Science in 2015. He also serves on the editorial boards of the International Journal of Social Quality, Social Policy and Society, and the Town Planning Review. And his works have been published in various publications, including EPW, Journal of Social Policy, Gender and Development, Socius, International Journal of Social Welfare, and a whole number of others. Dr. Aniket Nandan is a sociologist by training, and his research interests are focused on socio-political investigations of associational life of caste groups, which also display a fascinating intersection of caste, class, and religion. His present research aims to delineate the processes, shifts, transformations, and the convergences between the structure agency while engaging with the questions of caste and religion's influence on modern secular democracy. We'll begin with a presentation on the program as a whole, an overview of the program, what you could expect if you decide to become part of this, and then move on to a question and answer session. Many of you have already submitted questions at the time of registering for the event, and while we can't answer every single one of those, we've aimed to consolidate the main points or the main themes behind these questions, and we will prioritize those in the Q&A session. We will also be monitoring the Q&A here in this webinar. So if you take a look at your menu bar, typically towards the bottom of the screen, after the mic and the camera icons, you should see an icon which says Q&A. If you have any questions, you can put them down in that Q&A section. My colleague Vinaya and I will be keeping an eye out on those, and we will pass them on to the speakers. One last note, however, before I hand over to the speakers for today. This session is aimed at providing a comprehensive overview of the MPP program and is not focused as much on the entrance test for the program, which is the NLSAT MPP. We will be holding a separate session on the test in some time for candidates who have completed the registration process for the test. Things like the syllabus and how to prepare for the test and so on. If you have any questions about those, we'd request that you hold them for that later session. In this session, we hope that we can focus on the program as a whole. With all that said, may I now invite Dr. Aniket Nandan to give us an overview of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavin. Thank you for laying such a wonderful platform for this live session on NPT program. At the outset, I want to welcome all the participants for this live information session on MPT program at National Law School, Bangalore. And before I begin, let me also point out that what makes and what constitutes a public policy program in uh, within National Law School, something which is very significant, not only for the students, but also for those who aspire to become future policy professionals. To guide you more about the program, I will be sharing my screen, which will have few slides about not at all, not only just telling about the story which NLS is all about, but also in detail about the public policy program located at or centered at National Law School of India, National Law School India University. Yeah. So, National Law School India University, and if you look at the beginning of National Law School of India University, and as you all can look at the slide and you see that it was termed as a bold experiment in legal education. Um, to make more clear about it, that why we term it as a bold experience in legal education, for those who are familiar with the legal education in India, they would know that before 1980s or till 1980s, most of the legal education was confined to having law degrees, which were either 2 year law degrees or 3 year law degrees. But National Law School of India University comes out as a something which is exceptional in its own character, introducing in 1988 a 5 year BA LLB, right? So a BA integrated with law degree, which was certainly a game changer. The way the law education, the way the law legal education in India transpired there. So 5 year LLB degree also constitutes, for example, say, so first 2 years, the student is supposed to study subjects like courses which are rooted into disciplines like sociology, history, political science, economics, and so on and so forth. And later on, they go on to you know, get their expertise in legal education. Um, it was an undergraduate law degree. To make it more clear, one would say that it was, again, it's a bold experiment in such a way that now the students who have done their 12th or intermediate, they can immediately join a BLLB degree. Previously, as I was talking about before 1980s or before that, most of the students who were aspiring to be lawyers, they would have already done their graduation. So again, it was a very experimental sort of a legal educational policy in that sense. It has an interdisciplinary curriculum and integrated degree. So you have a BA plus LLB degree. And one of the key features which I am personally more excited to tell is in the sense that it has an experiential education. What do I mean by experiential education? Education which is not only grounded in terms of just giving lectures or classroom teaching, but an education which opens up your mind, an education which allows you to investigate things and or events or occurrences or phenomena which you observe all around. Significantly, it also needed cutting edge pedagogy, which National Law School or NLS, in a very short abbreviation sense, when we are talking about it, provide. It also provides certain specialization. So when you do legal education, you can specialize in either in corporate law or in environment law or any such discipline which you desire. It's a fully residential program. So the students are supposed to stay in campus along with faculties, and also a residential program in itself provides a student a sense of engagement, not only with the faculty, the course, the education, but also with the sense of engagement with the space or the place where they are staying. Um, Another significant aspect with the National Law School is that it is a collaboration between the bar, the bench, and the academy. Chief Justice of India is the Chancellor of our university. The Bar Council has played a significant role in monitoring as well as regulating and giving valuable suggestions to the National Law School. And significant autonomy has been also given to the faculties in terms of designing their courses and offering the lecture they want to, the way they want to, and so on. Transformation in legal education, one would say that now we have a whole range of national law universities all across India. And among them, National Law School of India University is a pioneer. When I say it's a pioneer, I also want to point out or highlight the fact that National Law School of University of India has consistently ranked number one in legal education in India. And it has been proven by NRI ranking and several other rankings which the private ranking framework also provides. Most of the graduates from NLS have gone to several universities, elite universities all across the globe, and not only gone at these elite universities, but after having their education, they have also come back and become a faculty here. And this tells you about about the fact that how National Law School has evolved after 1988. Our students have also received some coveted scholarships, such as Rhodes scholarships, Commonwealth scholarships, and Fulbright institutes. Students have also won several competitions all across the globe. But one thing which is very important to highlight here is that what are the scopes in terms of career, and especially when students who have just finished their 12th or finished their graduation or masters in first, they look for career scopes. And law and career in law and beyond also suggests you that it is not just about judicial uh, practices or a job in judicial services or litigation. That is beyond also, something which is beyond also these conventional, traditional forms of uh, career opportunities. One thing I can certainly say that the future here at National Law School significantly looks very bright. And not just to say that in a very rhetorical sense, but also to be proven through numbers. So we have been increasing intakes across all programs here. And we have new programs like 3-year LLB program, which is an honors degree program. We have redesigned PhD program. So PhD program here is not only integrated with the legal discipline, but also there is interdisciplinary PhD programs. Multidisciplinary programs with other leading institutions in Bangalore has been also very significant or pivotal to the National Law School's future direction. Along with this, National Law School provides extensive online courses which come under the Professional and Continuing Education Department. These courses can be, or the students can register themselves in these courses, and they can be a professional, they can be anybody who is working in any stream or interested into legal as well as interdisciplinary discourse. With this, I come to the point where I want to introduce that what the Masters in Public Policy program looks like. Before I begin and tell you more about Masters program in Public Policy, one question which significantly comes to us or more repeatedly comes to us is that why public policy? So if we look at that, how the evolution or the economic development has taken shape in recent past in contemporary context in India, we are at a juncture where we need professionals who can not only point out the flaws of the existing designs, but also bring us to a point where they can tell us the future scopes, where they can tell us that how and what is to be done to make these economic developmental models more inclusive, more um, more in general, more rigorous, as well as very, very developmental in their own way. So what is master's degree program in public policy? Very briefly, let me point out that it is a 2-year residential multidisciplinary program which focuses on the interface between policy, law, and the social science. Since this program is situated within National Law School of India, the National Law School Bangalore, and National Law School in itself, as the pioneer in the legal education, provides you a scope, provides you an avenue to not only interact, not only look at the policy from a developmental practice, from a social or a political context, from an economic context, but also from a legal perspective, from a constitutional perspective. So introduced in 2014, this program provides comprehensive training in designing public policies for complex societal challenges. It would be unfair to say that what public policy does and what sort of impact or influence public policy has on dealing with complex societal problems, challenges, and threats. Unfair in the sense that we need more inquiries, we need more ways in which we can address these complex issues. And in doing so, of course, in public policy becomes very, very critical to understanding these complex mechanisms, complex designs, which is central to understanding policy making. We take pride in the fact that we train young professionals to become policy practitioners who are capable of supporting inclusive and sustainable development. Two keywords one would often listen, one will often come across whenever a development discourse takes place in contemporary context: inclusiveness as well as sustainable development. To tell you more about the diverse student background, one would, if you look at the pie chart here, you would realize that with a significant number of the students come from engineering background, come from social science and humanities background, from law background, from commerce and management background, as well as we also have students who have done medicine, and some of the students are also who are already working either as bureaucrats or government officials. So when you walk into a master's in public policy classroom, you will not only have students coming from one discipline or one sector, but from multiple disciplines, from multiple sectors, with different range of experience. And this makes such class very diverse as well as very engaged, because everybody has a certain way of looking at a complex situation, a complex problem, and makes this class very vibrant in nature. So in terms of structure, so we have a multidisciplinary pedagogy, which is a blend of skill-based and theory courses. As I said previously, that we have a wide variety or wide range of students coming for Masters in Public Policy program. We also have a multidisciplinary pedagogy in the sense that we are looking at social, political, economic, as well as legal, as well as various issues pertaining to finance and management and so on and so forth. But this sort of an education will be incomplete if we do not impart skill-based training to the student. And that is where we take pride that we are not only providing education in a very traditional sense, but also making students capable of having or honing their skills to become future policy practitioners. So the course here is divided into 6 trimesters, which focuses on theory, practice of public policy, and has wide variety of courses on economics, finance, law, sociology, and political economy. I have already pointed out. And students learn through a combination of reflective learning through classroom discussions, in-field exposure, solving problems for real-world clients, and a year-long research verification. Let me break this a little bit more clearly. As we all know that classroom discussions and classroom engagement in a lecture form or a non-lecture form is one of the very traditional way of learning and teaching in Indian setup. But the public policy classroom is not only about traditional forms of teaching and learning, but is also about in-field exposure, where we send our students for field visits, which is rooted into experiential learning. And these field visits are also, in many ways, provide students to solve real world problems. In the same direction, we also have mechanized a way in which students offer solutions to clients which which are from different sectors in Indian market or Indian academy. And thirdly, we have 1 year long research dissertation, which is a master's dissertation, a master's thesis, which every student takes up after their first year. MPP internship and career opportunities. Briefly, when I told about the the client-led projects can also be understood, or if one has to understand them very, very simply, one can say that they are internships in their nature. And these internships are um, at places such as government ministries, multilateral organizations, right, such as Asian Development Bank and UN offices and whatnot, research organizations and think tanks, ORF, CPR, NITI Aayog, corporate government policy teams, and such as KPMG, PwC, EY, and so on. So the client-led project is also another way of not only gaining experience and learning, but also improving the skills which is required to be a policy practice. And that is something which we take pride in the sense, as I've been repeating myself again and again, in the sense that it is not just about classroom teaching or a traditional way of lecturing, but it is also MPP program is also about developing those skills which are required to become a successful policy practitioner in Indian country. We have a significant number of alumni who have achieved greater heights in terms of either academic discipline or in terms of their corporate engagement and so on. So several students previous students from MPP cohorts have gone on to do their PhDs at reputed institutions and universities all across the globe, be it Oxford, be it Harvard, Cambridge, or any Ivy League university in US. And so a lot of our students have also become part of World Bank and United Nations organizations and so on. At the same time, a significant portion of students have been part of the corporate sector, where they have been able to not only influence but also change the way the policy is perceived in Indian country. At this juncture, before I go on and talk about the admission process to the MPP program, I want to point out one thing which is very significant about the MPP program at NLS is that this program is rooted into has a very simple sort of an objective in the sense that we are not only looking at creating a dialogue between creating a sort of a conversational platform between a faculty and a student, but more importantly, we are looking to create an environment where we create dialogue between faculty. a dialogue which is embedded into the dialectical framework of enhancing your knowledge, enhancing your learning, enhancing your experiential learning. And now that I want to move on to admissions to the NPP program, let me quickly point out that what would be the pattern or what is the pattern of the admission to NPP program. Uh, we have a, so it is an exam, it is, the admissions are conducted through an exam called NLSAT NPP. It's a 2.5 hours exam, 2.5 hours exam, and it has two segments. Part one or part A is objective type MCQs, and part two is policy related subjective questions which you have to answer. And the second section is the interview, which is for 15 marks. Eligibility, any bachelor in any degree, in any discipline recognized from national or foreign university is eligible to apply for MPP program. And as I said in my previous slide as well, is that the kind of class we have, the diverse, students coming from different parts of India, from different sectors and different disciplinary backgrounds is something which we pride. The rest you can look at it. So the aggregate marks should marks of at least 50% of students in general and 45 in the SC/ST category. And students from the final year bachelors also can apply. You can know more about this on MPP website and NLS website. The intake is about 100, and there is a certain reservation matrix which we follow. And as I said, more information can be availed on the NLS website. Some quick dates which I want to mention here is that April 6th is the last date to apply for the program. That means April 6th is the date before which you have to complete your registration for the program. I would recommend everybody to finish it much before, because it becomes really tight at the end. So it's advisable that you finish your registration processes much before April 6th. April 29th is the date of exam for NLSAT NPP. Interviews for the NPP program would happen or would take place in May 2023. The results would be announced in the first week of June, and the commencement of classes will be from July 1st, 2023. There is again few information related to the fees and the financial aid. This is the slide for the fee structure. I just want to keep it there for a few moments so that you all can have a look at it. And for more information, I encourage you to go at the NLS website. There is also provision for financial aid, and students who require financial aid can apply through proper channel, and they can also visit www.nls.ac.in for more details. Yeah. Finally, this is the QR code which is on your screen. You all can scan this QR code for more information, or visit www.nls.ac.in/admissions. Right. And at this juncture, I stop the slides and I want to hand over back to Bhavin. Thank you, Bhavin.
Thank you very, very much, Aniket. I'm sure that all our attendees found that extremely helpful, very instructive. And as a quick update, I've put down in the webinar chat a link to the pages related to the MPP program on the NLS website. A lot of the information that was covered in the presentation is also available in greater detail at that link, as well as the link for which the QR code was shared with you earlier. As I said, we've been keeping an eye on the Q&A And I dare say that some of the questions that appeared in the Q&A have already been addressed through Dr. Aniket's talk. But for the other questions that we received, I can't think of a better person to give you great guidance and insight than Professor Sony. May I now invite my colleague Vinaya to please direct the questions from registrants and from the Q&A for Professor Sony. Thank you so much. Vinaya, all yours.
Yes, thank you, Bhavan. Sony sir, so there have been a couple of questions that have come in that have a similar theme. So we're going to pick out some of the key questions from this set. One of them, I think I'll start with this, is prior involvement in public issues crucial for admission to the course? Sony sir? If you could just unmute and respond to this particular question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. This is a general issue that we have faced. The class is generally a mixed class. About 50% of students come with no experience in the classroom. About 50% of them have got some work experience. Usually that mix we found as a teacher standing on the other side to be useful. But from our interaction with the students, asking them how is learning happening, our experience is those who come with work experience greatly benefit from the program, because this is not a course where we just teach theory. We take students through practical aspects of policy making and policy designing. And if there is a limited experience, then the learning will have huge difficulty. Having said that, I am not saying we don't admit people without any work experience. We do admit. There is no condition that you should have work experience. But if you are waving in your mind, should I go for a 1 year of practice before I join a university program, which is a professional program, then I would strongly encourage, yes, that's a good choice to get some practice out there before you go back to the classroom. So that's the quick response to the question on, is work experience a positive aspect in a professional education?
Okay, thank you. Also, one more question that's come in, I think, which may be relevant is, what is the scope of research after graduating from the MPP program?
Yeah, in Aniket's presentation, he talked about the emphasis that we give here for the dissertation program that happens in the second year. That is, in the second year of the master's program in public policy, there is a 10 credits of dissertation component. Preparation for that begins right in the very first trimester of the first year with courses in research methods. And in the second year, students have a choice to take up a theme which is close to their heart, then design a full project for themselves. And that project is examined in 3 stages: at a proposal stage, at a design of the method stage, and finally, when the dissertation is fully written up and submitted. And it's a rigorous program, unlike normal master's program that students undergo. This kind of a preparation really helps students to move towards a doctoral program or even research-based academic programs after the MPP program. When we counted very recently, we noticed some 30 students from our program in last 7 years of this experience of the program has moved into doctoral programs, particularly in American universities and European universities mostly. Some of them also doing from reputed institutions like IIT Bombay, Indian Institute of Science, even National Law School itself. So we have alumni who are into doctoral program at quite a good number. One big advantage is public policy program is a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary program. So we also have noticed a tendency where students sometimes come from a technical subject, like being a chartered accountant or being an engineer or being a medical professional. And they want to change their career into a research-based career where society can be helped. And public policy program is a good opportunity to get trained in a multidisciplinary context and then move on to doing research, sometimes back to a very pure disciplinary research, like some of our students go to economics as a discipline and do a research there. Some of them still stick to multidisciplinary programs like public policy or even management program. So therefore, it opens a wide window of where they want to move from here after a master's program.
Okay, thank you so much. One more question. I think Dr. Aniket has already gone over the placement options, but we are still getting more questions on the kind of placement support that we provide, and especially whether it is useful for civil services. So would you want to respond to that, please?
Those who think about this program as a training place for civil service, my response will be slightly discouraging because we don't prepare students for civil service directly. Of course, today civil service as a career option is changing drastically. One reason is there is cutthroat competition there. So those who want to focus on civil service should just focus on coaching classes and getting into civil service. On the other side, civil service also is undergoing a change because of the lateral entry that is happening. And in the lateral entry, there are possibilities for policy professionals like those who finish this program. After the program and after a few years of experience, then you may directly get an appointment of the joint secretary level lateral entry. Therefore, it is not advisable to target a civil service entry through this program. But if you have got a larger view on, my goal is to work with government in my life, may not be immediately after this program, but down the years, 5 years or 6 years, then this program prepares you very well for that. That is a comment on more specifically if you think about civil service. If you jump in here thinking, okay, I will sit in the classrooms part-time, I will work hard on civil service preparation, you're going to spoil your career. We have that experience directly in the campus, people trying to do both and failing miserably in both. Neither you pass this exam, MPP program, nor do you get into civil service mains exam. Therefore, don't try to do it. That is my frank suggestion. Now, career support and possibilities. Civil service is only a tiny portion into which our graduates enter. A large number of our graduates get into a variety of sectors, including consultancy sectors in private sphere, like large firms like McKinsey, PwC, Deloitte. Some of these companies come to campus and pick up our students. Also, there are think tanks, research-based think tanks. Then there are foundations which make grants for organizations. Our students are in decision-making capacities there. And also academia, where students also get into universities to teach. So it's a variety of places where public policy practitioners jump in. In terms of the support that university provides, we give a lot of autonomy for the student body itself. There is a student body which is called Recruitment Coordination Committee, and students have the complete autonomy there to design and invite employers to the campus and to set their own rules on how they want to move around the whole allocation process. This begins straight from the second trimester of the program, where students begin the client-led program, and the Recruitment Coordination Committee gets into the mode of allocation right there. And therefore, it is not that only at the very end students begin to get into this, but through the second, by the end of first year itself, they begin to a collective process of how do we design our post-graduation placement programs through a dialogue and meaningful exchange among themselves. In addition to that, now this batch which is going to join the program is a 10th cohort. We have produced, the university has produced about 400 public policy graduates now through its last 8 years or 8 batches already out there in the field. That is a huge capital, huge social capital for the students who are currently students here. Students are in constant touch with these alumni who are in the practice world of the public policy. A lot of the placement, what we have noticed is happening to this alumni. In contact with the alumni, students gain internships as well as the final placements. So some support for the students from formal channels to the university, a lot more support by the alumni and the social capital the students have got through the alumni here.
Thank you so much. I think that clarifies a lot of doubts for the attendees. And some of you are also asking us about loans and fee concessions. I think Bhavin, my colleague, has already shared the relevant link there. And on the website, on the fee tab of that link, you can see there's a link to the financial aid page and all the support in terms of financial aid that NLSIU provides. So would request you to please visit that page. Another question that's come in, Sony sir, is about one of the attendees says, the academic year of MPP is slated to start in July, but my undergrad will end in August. So is there any possibility of reconciliation, and how can he apply, can he not apply?
Yes, especially last 3 years, we have found this kind of a questions coming, primarily because COVID has disturbed the academic schedules of different institutions. There are two types of response to it. One type is in terms of your joining date, it remains the 1st July as a firm date. You have to join on 1st July. However, there are two types of difficulties. One, some universities are lagging behind the schedule and they have exam schedule in July and therefore not able to come. Some other students or working people have got a requirement of notice period with the employers, and therefore they say that can I meet my commitments with the current employer and join the program. Our response has been responsibility is on you. That is, we begin the classes here on 1st of July. You have the responsibility to attend 75% of the classes. If you don't attend 75% of the classes, you are not allowed to sit for the examinations. Therefore, yeah, you have a 1 week of commitment with your employer, or you want to go off to write an examination for a 1 week to back to your university. Yeah, you manage yourself. It is not going to have huge repercussions if you take 1 week break. You can go and write an examinations. But if you take 1 month break, it is most likely that you will miss the classes. You will not be able to write the examination. That will put you in huge difficulty. Therefore, think yourself, plan your schedule very carefully, especially those who may be coming from places where attendance is relaxed, etc. You know, NLSIU follows a very rigorous program, and attendance is compulsory here. You are expected to be present in the class, and therefore don't take them to be light. But as I said, yes, there is examination. You are welcome to go and write the examination. 1 week of absence is not going to make big difference to your program. But if you have got more than that, you should definitely talk to the program coordinator here and put a word in advance before you join formally, so that between you and program coordinator, there's a good understanding on how much of a leeway will be required for this kind of a special circumstance.
Okay, sure. We will also provide an email address to which you can write to on the chat window before the session ends. But Sonisa, I want to ask this question because I think you can explain this very well. Although Dr. Aniket has gone over the overall idea of why study public policy, people have been interested to know what changes can be brought about by choosing to study this program and how it caters to the current needs of the society. I think this is a larger overview which you could probably share your thoughts on.
Many types of response can be made to this question. Sometimes this question may not be a question for several attendees here because they may have a clarity on why I want to go. But for a person who may be hearing about public policy as a program, it may be a curious question. What is this new discipline? I have not heard about this discipline. How do I explain about discipline to my parents who are going to finance this program? And they are saying they did not hear about this program. And therefore, this question has got relevance for those kind of people who have this question in the mind. So I'm happy to take that and explain this in a couple of minutes. And the answer comes from many different angles. First, from the point of view of standard academic program that happens in university, that is disciplinary programs. I study undergraduate economics, I study undergraduate sociology, I study undergraduate psychology, I study postgraduate programs in same disciplines, and if required, I go for a doctoral program in same discipline. That is the standard disciplinary programs. Increasingly, it is changing in India and across the world. There is suspicion about the kind of theories and the kind of practice that these disciplines are able to make and practical intervention this discipline can make in the world. That is where multidisciplinary programs are gaining great traction in today, not just in India, across the world. People are increasingly working in the edges of the discipline, where one discipline crosses its line with another discipline, or where one discipline engages with a problem where the problem has got multi-dimensionality. And as we all know, public policy problems are not disciplinary problems. They are real world problems for which an economic solution, political science solution, psychology solution, sociology solution alone will not suffice. We need an interdisciplinary approach to the problem solving. So that's where it also gets exciting. Those who are fed up with a disciplinary learning, those who want to have more open-ended learning, and this becomes a great avenue for opening up. Second, those who enter into this course and those who have ambition to gain a public policy degree, they have an underlying motivation that I want to make an impact. I want to make a change. How do I do it? That is something which is the driving force for those who are joining for this course. So now, my change making can be through a variety of ways. A university can facilitate in 3 ways. It can provide you necessary knowledge to make the change out there. It can provide you necessary skills to prepare yourself to face the world. Third, it can prepare you with adequate value orientation, adequate empathy as to how do I approach the problems or the people who are faced with these problems. These 3 things are what we can assure you in NLS. And we have excellent faculty who are equipped with the theory, the knowledge component, faculty members with skills required for the public policy questions, that is great economic analysis, great legal analysis, great socio-political analysis. You have the great skills coming in. And we provide you great value orientation by exposing you to real world. We send you to the field and we we take the feedback from you as to how you dealt with the word, how you could have better dealt with the word. These three we can assure you and in shaping you. But if you want to be prepared for that, you need to come with a certain type of a motivation. That is, the motivation is, I want to make an impact there. If that drive is missing, whatever technical things we provide you here in the program will be going nowhere. It will not be hitting the right target. And therefore, that is a question that you should ask yourself. Am I entering to the right space? Do I have the drive to make a difference out there? Do I have a right to, do I have a drive to make a public service job there? If that is there, this is the right course that you should be looking for. Rest of them leave to us. We are here to shape you. But this drive is something which you should bring in. The fire is what you should bring in if you want to come for this program.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that was extremely informative. Before I hand it over to Bhavin again, I think some of you are asking questions that both Professor Sony and Dr. Aniket have already addressed. The batch strength is 100 for the upcoming cohort, which has been mentioned. And I think another, again, questions on part-time work during the duration of the course. Is that something manageable? I think Professor Sony would advise not to do that. Would part-time work be advisable, sir, during the duration of the course? I think
absolutely no. It is a very tight program. It is not possible to take part-time work at all. It is possible in the last 3 months of the program where you will be doing just your dissertation. And at that time, we will be actually encouraging you to work with organizations of public policy relevance and to do a dissertation in the same line. So in the last 3 months of the program, it is possible. But first 1.5 years, you just don't have any space to take up any part-time jobs. But there are structured internships and field work where you will have some kind of a flexibility. You can choose an organization which is matching your wavelength or where you want to go. We will be facilitating those kind of opportunities. But if it is a full-time job or a part-time job that you are thinking, you just will not have time and space to do it while you are here in the university.
Thank you, sir. I think a lot of you also have questions on the paper pattern and the syllabus. I think I'll hand it over back to Bhavin now, because as he had mentioned earlier, this is something that we might take up in the next session. But Bhavin, probably you could address that again.
Sure. Before I come to that, Sony sir, just one last question, and I thought this might be very helpful to understand. We've spoken so much about how the MPP program design is premised on interdisciplinarity and how one would have to work across disciplines in order to come up with effective policy solutions. One very pointed question about the program is, how good do I have to be at quant? How much quantitative techniques or quantitative aptitude do I know? How much of this is included in the program and its teaching?
Yeah, good question. We say that if you have got 10 standard maths, it is good enough to join the program. Yes, quant skills have got one kind of an advantage because public policy questions deal with the question of size, fund allocation, and therefore some bit of quant is essential. But our strive and perseverance in this program is to make it much more interdisciplinary program rather than those who come only with quant backgrounds. Therefore, I can confidently say that in our program, we have had students from history, we have had students from literature, we have had students from who have come from a language, and they all have successfully completed, and some of them are also very well employed. For example, the history student is employed in the heritage management of the cities. How do you preserve cities and how do you bring them into the urban planning practice? Now, this history student had no sense of urban planning when she joined for this program. We trained her, or we provided enough support to become an urban planning practitioner, one of the elective courses that we conduct. Now she combines that with history that she brings in. So we didn't teach her history. She brings the history with her. and she exceeds, she excels, and she gets into a job. That's what very often a multidisciplinary program like a public policy program, or even to some extent, I also will say the same thing about MBA program, are things which you build on from what you bring in. You bring a great strength to your undergraduate program. Don't throw it away. It doesn't have to be quantitative. It can be anything. But we gave you enough things that will prepare you for a policy practice. So of course, there are a quantitative course here. We teach you basic statistics. We teach you some bit of economic analysis, but that is to give you the very basic or the minimum that is required for any policy practitioner. At the same time, there are also advanced courses in statistics, econometric courses, but that is elective. Those who are interested can specialize in them and move on. Therefore, it is not that those who come with strong quantitative background will feel that, oh, I know everything, I don't need to study anything. No, you will have another type of advantages in terms of specializing in them. At the same time, those who come with no skills or very limited skills, you don't have to worry. We give you and prepare you with very basic minimum to become a policy practitioner.
Right. Thank you very, very much for that, Professor Sony. This was extremely helpful. It now remains to me to just make a few wrap-up announcements. There are a couple of links from the NLS website as well as an email address that I've put down in the chat. And you can visit these pages for more information, or if you have a very specific query, and I've noticed some of them in the Q&A about the program that you're currently enrolled in, how you might become part of the MPP, eligibility for various reservation categories, so on and so forth, then that is the email address that you can use, and our team will get back to you very, very promptly. As we've announced earlier, we will be holding at least one more such session, which will focus much more tightly on the NLSAT MPP, which is the entrance test for this program and is scheduled to be conducted on the 29th of April at centers all over the country. Remember that that session will be made available to candidates who have completed the registration process, so we would encourage you to do so at the soonest. Candidates who have completed the registration will also have access to some supporting materials, some materials that may help you in your preparations for the exams, including sample questions, which will be released subsequently. So do visit the links, do copy down the email address, because that's where you'll find a lot of answers to what I'm sure are many, many questions in your mind, to complete your registration process so that we can share with you the live session as well as the other preparatory materials that might assist you as you prepare for the NLSAT MPP. And finally, thank you to my colleague Vinaya, thank you to Aniket, thank you very much, Sony sir, and the biggest thanks of all, of course, to all of you who took the time out to join us on this busy weekday evening. Thank you all very much and best of luck. Bye-bye.